Sharpening your tools. Sharpening tools can be one of the most difficult things to do when you get into leather work, but you do need to keep your edges nice and sharp, because if you have a dull tool you can end up ruining your work or even giving yourself a nice and nasty cut. So usually when you get a tool like a head knife or a skiving knife, it's already sharpened. Sometimes they have tool marks on them, sometimes not, depends on the quality. So you only have to strop them. And this is a strop, and so is this. And I have dark, and well, this one got some dark rouge on it too, but use a jeweler's rouge. You can use different colors for different grits. White's pretty normal. There we go. You get that on your stropping pad, and with a skiving knife like that, you just draw your knife away from the cutting edge. And what that's doing is you're cleaning up any micro dings you may have. You can maybe see it's polishing the edge up. Now you feel the backside, you might feel a little bead of metal roll up. It's more apparent when you're doing a stone or a heavier grit. You just turn around and you polish up your edge. Woohoo! Pretty simple. And then of course you just take, and if you want to test your sharpness, there we go. That seems pretty darn sharp. So that's your skiving knife. Now, this is a gouge, and normally I don't use a gouge, but I do have a couple, and you got to keep them sharp. Now, gouges, as they get older, you can see they wear, kind of get rounded and stuff, but a lot of gouges, when you buy them, they have tool marks on them. You want to polish those. So essentially, all you're doing is you're going to polish those edges just like you would. Now it's got two flat sides. Whoopsies. And then it's got a round curved edge. That's the downside. And of course, you're going to gently go around and polish that curved surface. So now you can hopefully see it's got a nice polished sharp blade. Of course, if I come around here, now I want to polish the inside of the cutting edge. So I got a piece of leather clamped in my vise right here, and I got some rouge on it, and what I do is I just, same way, drawing away from the cutting edge, and I cut the inside, or I polish the inside. Alright, so that is the gouge. Now, let me adjust this thing here. Alright, stitching groover. Stitching groover can be kind of tricky. I'll put that together later. So here's my stitching groover, and essentially all you do with this, because it gets used a lot when you do a lot of stitching, and you want to keep your hole clean, keep it unfouled, but you cut yourself a groove in a piece of leather, just like you were going to stitch something, right? So there's a nice groove, and then you take your jeweler's rouge, fill up that groove. You can see that's turning white because I'm getting the rouge in there. Now, one thing that used to blow me away is how the hell do I sharpen my stitching groover? Well, it's a simple thing. You see it is kind of got a shiny little edge. That's the cutting edge. And since you've already cut a nice deep groove, all you're going to do is you're going to getting that groove you made, and you're going to go in reverse. You're going to go once again away from your cutting edge. And since you filled up that groove with rouge, you're also polishing the sides of your cutting head and the very tip. Alright? So, now you have a nicely polished and sharpened stitching groove. And of course that'll just cut right through and give you your nice stitch line. See? Okay, last thing. This is the skiving knife that came with my beginner's kit, and as you can see, it's seen better days. It's a little rusty and stuff. I rarely use this. I don't use this for skiving at all because it's too inconvenient. The angle's kind of messy. I've used it for a screwdriver. I think I've used it to mix epoxy, but so you take yourself a little bit of 1000 grit sandpaper, okay, and you can clean up your blade. Alright, once you get that done, you usually follow the same procedure, okay? So draw it away from your cutting edge. Flip it away from your cutting edge. Now, I'm not trying to get this super razor sharp like my other skiving knife that I actually use, but you can see on the very edge it gets a polish to it. Alright, now this is good for rough cutting. See, it's just a rough cut. But you have to be careful with this type of knife because it will slice you. Alright, that is the 3 tools that I sharpen most frequently. When it comes to your edging tools, here's a little cheapy one, probably made in China. Had it for I don't know how long. All you do with this for the downside edge is that's this one. You use it to round off the edge of something. Oh, that's this one, sorry. You round off the edge. Once again, put your jeweler's rouge on there. Alright. And you draw it away from your cutting edge. That's going to polish that little ramp up pretty good. Alright. You can see that's polished up. Now, here's the deal. There's a little tiny ramp inside of there for, well, it's part of the knife part of the tool. You gotta polish that too, and that's a little tougher. But as I did with my my grooving tool, you set your little piece of leather up and be real gentle about this, okay? You don't have to be all hardcore. There's plenty of grit in that rouge, and that'll polish that ramp up. Oh, my screen froze. Hopefully it's still recording. Anyway, and that's polishing. Polishing and sharpening. Oh, there we go. So just polish that little ramp up a little bit. That's all you do. It takes some practice, and there's really no reason to freak out over it. It's just set yourself up where you can work easily and get to your tools when you need them, and keep them sharp.